Holy shit, boys, we are back in a huge way with some new information about the upcoming Age of Apocalypse update for Marvel Future Fight. Thank you, Netmarble. Thank you, Netmarble. Thank you, Marvel, for giving me something interesting to talk about finally. So, what do we have here? Well, we were hit up recently with a very juicy picture in the form of this beast, who is part of the Age of Apocalypse Issue 1 event. Now, for those of you who are a little bit confused, I will demystify your confusions before going into speculation about what we can expect from the update and perhaps a timeline about the update, because I'm going to cover all of that in the video. But first, I've been a good boy and I went and I did my research as per some of our fans on the YouTubes and on the Twitch giving me some reading recommendations. I had to brush up on my Age of Apocalypse knowledge. For those of you who aren't aware, there's actually been several iterations of the Age of Apocalypse series. There was one in like 1995, 1999, 2009, and then there was one more recently in 2015. Now, judging by the typeface, the shape, and the kind of size and the look of the text at the bottom of Beast, the Age of Apocalypse, in that kind of cartoony, mushed up size, this is a direct result or a direct influence from the 2015 Age of Apocalypse series. Not my best or not my favorite series now that I've read them all in terms of the artwork, but still pretty cool. Now, who the hell is this in this picture? Well, it's not Storm, despite the lightning. This is actually Dark Beast. Dark Beast is kind of basically Beast from another dimension, or excuse me, another Earth. And basically, he's a bad guy. He works for Mr. Essex, who is Mr. Sinister, and he also works for Apocalypse. So we know at least we're getting Apocalypse, that's pretty much duh, and we're getting a uniform for Beast, which is going to turn him into a villain. We'll get into that later. But who else are we possibly getting from this update? Well, on top of getting Dark Beast, we are probably also going to get a uniform for Scott Summers. And as you can see from this picture, Scotty Boy doesn't look like the Boy Scout leader that we're used to. He's got long hair, don't care. He's got weird body armor, and he actually only has energy or a teleportation device or whatever out of one eye. His other eye was lost, and you'll see this is kind of a theme with this run of the Age of Apocalypse. There's multiple characters that are missing part of themselves. So in Scott's case, he's missing one eye, so he's just got one laser blaster. It might make him more of a combat type character. It might make him more of a melee type character because he only has one eye blaster. He might be able to do some wild new things. Holy shit, my hands need hand moisturizing cream. Picking up where we left off, we're probably also going to get a uniform for Rogue because of something I'll talk about later. If you look in the top right hand corner of this image, you will see a very cute looking girl with brown and white hair standing next to Magneto, standing under Burner. Burner is a very cool character that we may get. That will probably be the uniform for Rogue. It looks very similar to the Jim Lee uniform that we have for her now, except in addition, she's got these little bulbs around her neckline, which very closely mirror what Magneto has on his uniform in basically all versions. And that's probably because in some iteration, Rogue was, drum roll please, Magneto's wife. Okay, but in this case, it's also Emma Frost. Speaking of Emma Frost, we may be getting her as a new character, yes. So in addition to some other characters that you see there, the likes of Mr. Sinister, as we've talked about, Holocaust is in the top corner, the guy who looks like he's on fire. Probably not going to get him because of his name, but in the middle we see there Emma Frost. So she would be a very cool character to get. She's kind of like a hero in this version, but she could definitely be her default villain look. and I would love to see her in the game because I know a lot of people want her in Marvel Future Fight, and we do want some new characters. In addition, I want to go back to that image and point to the bottom because there's a very important, very popular character who is missing a hand. So let's give him one right now. Fake clapping for Wolverine, missing one of his arms. Yes, Scott Summers, pew pew pew, laser beamed one of Wolverine's arms off, and Wolverine stabbed one of his eyes out when they had a fight, and Jean Grey died. Spoiler alert. Anyways, the point being, Scott lost an eye, Logan lost an arm. That's kind of the theme or the motif of these two, and they both lost their loved one. Cue dramatic music. Anyways, we could also see a uniform for Logan. We just recently got a uniform for a native tier 2 for Thanos, so I don't really expect one for Wolverine, but we might get one, although I don't know how they could make him better with less claws. I don't know. We'll have to see. We're probably not going to get a uniform for Magneto because he looks almost identical in the comics as he does like in the regular Jim Lee comics and here in this iteration from 2015. But we do have some other characters that we can explore that could be coming to the game. So we've already covered uniforms for Scott Summers or Cyclops, Rogue, and Beast, which we'll get to in a minute, why those three are the most important and the most likely. But as far as new characters go, I want to talk about some from this comic run that I would really love to see. So at the top, there's kind of an elfy looking girl who has 2 swords. That is Blink. Love to see her. Would love to see her in the game. We talked about Emma Frost. We also have Burner, who I believe is Cyclops' other brother. Yeah. And we would also like to see him in the game. I would, because he's kind of like a pyro guy. In addition to that, we also have a possible new uniform for Carol Danvers. Very cool looking uniform. She doesn't do a lot of fighting, so I'm not too sure what those batons do, but I'm pretty sure she's charging them with energy, and then they do damage that way. It would be a nice way for the community to move on from the fiasco way back in the day of that Secret Wars Carol Danvers uniform that was only, you know, purchasable by spending thousands of dollars on hundreds of thousands of crystals. And it would be nice to see an update for a character who is beloved, but sadly very low on the power scale. Kind of like a rework, kind of like your Anti-Venom for Captain Marvel. We also have Jean Grey making an appearance in this comic series at the end. I don't want to spoil it for you, but as you can see, she has basically the same look here as she did in the Jim Lee era comics, so I highly doubt we're getting a uniform for Jean Grey, but they could take multiple interpretations of the Age of Apocalypse series and use that to influence and kind of justify and direct where we're going with this update. Finally, I want to leave you guys with some images of Apocalypse and what he looks like, which is very similar to his kind of default look and what we're going to be getting based on the San Diego Comic-Con reveal. You can also see there we have a very special guest, Iceman. Please, Netmarble, give us Bobby. I really want Iceman in this game. He plays a pretty important, not super important, but pretty important role in this run of the Age of Apocalypse series. He really flexes his Omega level mutant powers, freezing everybody, almost killing Holocaust, etc., etc. So I would love to see him as a new character. And finally, we go back to Dark Beast. I couldn't get a very good picture of him, but you can see him hanging off the wall. You can see those iconic kind of silver gray pants. The glasses, we're going to lose them, but this is basically what he looks like, and that's them testing on Danvers prior to testing on Jean Grey. So that is as far as the comics have taken me thus far in terms of what we can expect them to give us from what they've hinted at and what we see in the comics. I think the typeface matching fonts really solidifies that it's going to be this version of the Age of Apocalypse, which has a pretty small cast. I skipped other characters like Havoc, like Creed. There's a bunch of other heroes and villains that could possibly come in, but they're all minor roles in comparison to what we just covered. So this update looks like it's going to introduce fewer new characters and more uniforms or updates or possibly upgrades for existing characters. Now, in addition to the Dark Beast teaser that we got, we have a pre-event update quest that we're going to be embarking on. And as you guys know, these pre-update quests are just normal kind of daily missions that we have to do, clearing certain, X-Men related missions, clearing special missions, doing ISO upgrades, upgrading cards, doing a daily mission. Just play the game, play all of the game content, and you'll get 80 tokens per day. I believe from my math that this runs for a total of 9 days. 9 times 8 is, anyways, it's a lot of tokens. I believe it's like 640 tokens or 700 tokens. This part of the math I was unable to do in time because I was busy reading comic books for you guys. But you're going to get more than 600 tokens, and what's more important is the rewards for these tokens. And this is where we draw the conclusions that I hit you with at the beginning as far as uniforms for specific characters, specific X-Men characters. So you can see here that you can kind of trade 100 tokens for either 20 Beast biometrics, 20 Cyclops biometrics, or 20 Rogue biometrics. That would lend itself very strongly to the idea that we are getting uniforms for all 3 of those characters. You can see that the purchase limit is 2, so you can only get 40 biometrics of each character, but you will be able to get the full 40 for all 3 characters, because by my math, that's only 600 tokens, and we're getting more than 600 tokens. Then you can spend the rest on either hidden tickets or clear tickets. I would recommend the hidden tickets, but the clear tickets are also worthwhile. Nornstones, not really worthwhile unless, as I've said before, you are a very new player and you're trying to get one of those epic quests finished. Now, the most popular speculation and the most popular idea that people have is that you're going to need to bring these new uniforms for Cyclops, Beast, Rogue, and whoever else to Mythic in order to collectively unlock Apocalypse. And this is very similar to the pattern that we saw with Jean Grey, where you had to get tier 2 characters before you could unlock her. I like this idea. I think that Netmarble could take it a step further and make it a bit easier if they did a mixture of tier 2 characters and uniforms, so it doesn't stress and put a lot of emphasis on just mythicking or getting uniforms to mythic level. If they only go with uniforms, it does feel a little bad, and it does feel like they are pushing those uniform tickets that cost $45 on us a little bit too hard if you're trying to rush Apocalypse. So it would be nice to see them kind of balance the costs of getting Apocalypse between rank up tickets and uniform rank up tickets. They did give us 1 mythic ticket for completing the new Shadowland, so anyone who's been able to complete it until the update, until just before the update, will be able to get at least one of these characters ready for Apocalypse if that is the prerequisite. In addition, a lot of people have been speculating that these are going to be the new world bosses, that Apocalypse will take the place of Thanos and Dark Beast will take the place of, I don't know, Black Dwarf or Corvus or something, and then you'll have other characters slotting in. The only reason why I don't like, or I don't think that this is possible, is because there aren't that many villains from this update that aren't new characters as per the comics. Rogue is not a villain, Cyclops is not really a villain, he's kind of a villain, kind of a hero, so it would not necessarily fit. It could fit, but not necessarily. They could just say, yeah, they're all villains, that's possible as well, but we could also be getting a lot of new characters, a lot of new villains, Mr. Sinister, Creed, and other ones. That would be cool, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm neither denying nor approving that idea. I'm just putting it out there and telling you guys where my skepticism about it lies. The last thing I want to hit you guys up with is some speculation about Beast specifically, because we know he's getting a uniform and he's the most interesting of the 3, and also what you should do in anticipation of this update dropping. Now, because Beast is coming out and he's going to be getting a uniform, he's going to transfer over from a combat hero to a combat supervillain. That is a very meaningful change. It's a meaningful change for one of 2 reasons. He's either going to become the new best leader for Carnage Day, or possibly he's going to become the new best character for combat supervillain. That's a big difference, especially for the free-to-play community who's been struggling with Sandman, because despite heroic tales of Sandman scoring 200,000, people still are investing in Carnage because he's just that much easier to get a high score with, or get a decent score with at least. I know Extreme Alliance Battle is not the only game mode, but a lot of people are curious when a new character comes out if they're going to be Extreme Alliance Battle compatible. So I wanted to cover that and let you know that Beast is in a very good position to be either the new best leader, which kind of sucks for anyone who invested in Titania, this fucking guy, and Absorbing Man by that matter, or he's going to just straight up take over Sandman's position and possibly also Carnage's position. So we may have a new free-to-play alternative for Carnage for that specific day. And I welcome our new Beast Overlord, Dark Beast Overlord. Carnage can go Carnage himself. In addition to that, I doubt that Cyclops is going to take Doctor Strange's position for Blast Male, but it is possible because it doesn't, change up between hero and villain, so they're all welcome. Rogue probably isn't going to take over for 2099 or Kid Kaiju. Both of those are paywalls, and you know how much Netmarble has been trying recently to make sure that the paywall characters are the ones we're using in Extreme Alliance Battle, Jean Grey, etc. So I don't see that happening, but it will be interesting what they do to Rogue, because she kind of got a nerf in a lot of people's eyes when they changed her leadership. So it would be nice to see Netmarble kind of give her something more to balance that out and maybe bring her back up to the power level and kind of maybe even a Jean Grey counter that we kind of expected her to be. Not that she plays a huge role in the comics. So guys, that is the roundup and the big news coming out of Marvel Future Fight right now. If you are excited, let me know. If you have speculation and comments, let me know. Hit that shit up. Let's see how many comments we can get on this video, boys. I'm expecting a lot of conversation from you guys. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you're hyped for and what you're scared for, and who also deserves reworks, because we haven't had one of those in a long time, Netmarble. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.